work because it's I've got the headphones in. So we shall see, Ben. The only way to do these things very often is to try it out. So redirecting, I think that's just going to
But
be live.
yeah, it's done live for 1 minute 22 seconds, just to let you know.
The only way to do these things very often is yeah, there we are. So we are live
Crikey.
there. But
Yeah.
what I can do, you hear me, hear us in the background. Now, can you still hear me, Ben?
Yes.
Fantastic. What I've done is I have just doused the sound. I have just scrolled it down the way, if you see what I mean, rather than mute it entirely, mute the whole mute the whole laptop. So, welcome if you are tuning into this live, the mischief, mayhem, wonder, and occasional slight element of stress behind the scenes as Ben and I greet you again um, with uh, with good news. Anyway, how are you doing, Ben?
Very well, thank you, Mike. And yeah, it's pretty hot here, but it's all good. We're coming into summer, so yes.
Oh, cool. Or rather hot. um,
Cool and hot, yeah.
let me pull the Zoom meeting back up. So there's a slight delay looking at it on YouTube. I'll flick
Okay.
between them to see if there's any comments or questions or whatever. But thanks so much
Cool.
for taking the time to do this. And you know,
Likewise.
we know that it took a little bit longer to to get to this point than people might imagine behind the scenes.
Technicalities. Yeah,
Um,
technicalities.
we ended up having a longer conversation and thoroughly stimulating and enjoyable, but in many different directions. And then laterally thought, well, we should probably try some of the tech out. And lo and behold, it didn't work, even though we had tried it out in rehearsals, but going live, it didn't. So, welcome to anyone who is watching live, and welcome also to anyone who's watching the recording of this live if it records okay. And we're here. You may have seen Ben and I chatting before. I promised in a few videos actually that in terms of this particular series of podcast episodes that I would be talking more to people as well, rather than just putting out content, which I enjoy doing to share and hopefully to illuminate and get people thinking. But I think it's also really important to have conversations which are authentic. And one of the reasons we're doing this live, and one of the reasons that we had a technical issue, but that is authentic. So, Ben, we left off last time we spoke on YouTube on this little podcast, talking about the fact that we were delighted, over the moon, because we'd been shortlisted in the San Diego Mobile Film Festival, and it which was just astounding. So you want to remind people who may have seen that, or let people know if they're watching this us for the first time, how you felt and what that was like before we announce the next bit of news. So how did it feel?
So to be shortlisted initially, I think well actually I felt like, oh great, that's really cool. Oh, shortlisted. And so I proceeded to try and find the website and looked it up, and then I realized, oh, it's actually a little bit more than what I thought it was. So there would have been considerable amount of entries. I understand now, but so to be shortlisted, I suddenly became pretty excited, and I actually thought I was surprised because this my original intention was not to even enter into competitions. That was thanks to Mike. Thank you, Mike. And
Pleasure.
but yeah, so it really took me by surprise. But initially, I just thought, oh, that's cool. But yeah, later, as we'll find out when we discuss, you'll see why I now feel like, wow, that is good. Yes. So it was very exciting to be shortlisted after I found out what it was about more. Yeah, more so.
Yeah, so a bit of the thank you very much, Ben. A bit of the background to that was that it essentially was out for a walk, and I decided to just take a couple of photographs. I think it might have been initially early in the morning, and the light was incredible. The sun was trying to get through some very, very, very hazy, almost a fog type mist, but still a mist, light enough to be a mist. And as I then began to continue on my little journey around a field, essentially, I thought, I wonder if I could capture this in sequence, because the idea being that the best camera you own is the one that you have with you at that point in time. And mobiles or cell phones are kind of ubiquitous. And so they have tended to be what more and more people use. I mean, Ben and I both have other cameras, but we certainly use mobiles. And then when I looked at the footage, so to speak, I thought, wow, this phone has captured just some amazing images. I mean, I don't think you could quite duplicate it in the way that I saw it, and that the camera really captured quite accurately in Hollywood. I mean, probably they could to a degree, but I always think sometimes you can tell. But here it was, free and awesome. And then I said to Ben, "Hey, look, Ben, this is a bit of a curveball. I've used some of your music in the past. We've mucked about in social media, and I'm a great supporter of indie artists in general, writers, musicians, and there are a lot of phenomenal indie musicians out there. But Ben and I had a bit of a sort of streak, so to speak, of interacting with a couple of videos where I would make something and Ben would provide some music, but music he had already written. And I said, what about if you just, compose something for this? And it was very tentatively asked, because I'm in awe of musicians, and I love music, but it's not something that I've any clue about actually producing. And I said, but please do not feel obliged to do anything. And then Ben went away, and he'll probably talk about his creative process and the inspiration behind it. But to condense the time a little bit, he came back, and I was just blown away. And it fitted exactly. I mean, exactly the video. And from that, I then thought, my gosh, this is too good to waste. This is too good just to not try and at least get some more recognition around it, because this is a phenomenal piece of music, and it's taken that video and it's just raised it up to the stratosphere or above. And um, then I thought, what about some of these film competitions, the mobile film competitions, because it was shot on a mobile, and looked at two or three, and probably put two or three, maybe four, I cannot remember, but a tiny amount of entries out there. Again, very new to the whole thing. And then Ben had heard about that. And this is, I think, what Ben's referring to. That, yeah, so that's cool. We've entered this thing here. And then before we got the news about the shortlisting, I and Ben started to look at the competitions, and specifically this San Diego one. What's that all about? I looked at it in more detail, and I think from that point, Ben, you can probably pick up the story that you realize where we had entered ourselves, what competition, and then there was a shortlisting that took place. So maybe you could take it from just before the shortlisting and how you felt when you heard about the shortlisting.
Well, yeah, I was when I found out what it was all about, then it was extremely exciting. I didn't expect it because, like you said, you mentioned correctly that I didn't expect for you to enter it into, or to even offer to enter it into competitions as you did, or to suggest. And I said yes, because I thought, well, actually, I think what we did together was quite special. So I
Mm.
did know that. I did know that it was good. And it looks really good. It sounds really nice.
Mm-hmm.
So, and funny things happen, when you do something spur of the moment, things just somehow click into place. That's what happened with this. I felt that happen, and I was aware of that already. But Yeah, so to be shortlisted, possibly out of maybe thousands of people. I don't know exactly the number of entries,
Don't
but
know.
probably was a lot. Um, because it's one of the, I think it's the first one of its kind, the Mobile Film Festival. Is that
Yes.
particular one is the first
Yeah.
one,
Yes.
2012, I think it was started. So
Yes. Very
yeah, to get
prestigious.
recognition. Yeah, yeah. So to get recognition in that, for me, when I found out the more details about it, I felt really honored, and really lucky because had you not said that, we, well, just wouldn't have entered it really. So we may have posted it to YouTube and TikTok. And guys, everyone knows that when you post something to TikTok or YouTube, well, if you're just someone who hasn't got, sort of what should we say, algorithmic influence rather than with other people. But uh,
Uh,
yeah, so you don't get your video spread to many people, and so many people are familiar with this. So many creators, and some of the best creators I've seen, just randomly, have very few followers and they can't make a living from what they're trying to get out there, although that may be their intention. So yeah, I felt very pleased that all the events had come to where it just felt like it clicked into place, and then we got shortlisted, and it was like, wow, what's happened? Is this a sign? So yeah,
yeah, I mean, and yeah, you've brought back a lot of memories there. That you're right, just things kind of click. There was I was outside, and we'd already done a couple of collabs, so that was kind of fresh from having done one, and then I thought about the music that you produce, and I know what it is. Very, I don't mean to limit it at all, but I thought, and then you graciously said, "Yeah, give that a go," and that's quite an ask, because at that point, no thought about film festival at all. But then when I looked at the product, when it was put together, I thought, oh, what about those film festivals? And very inexperienced, and San Diego, when it sounds nice, sounds kind of glamorous, and you
sunny and
put it
warm.
in, and warm,
Yeah,
probably not as warm as you are right now, Ben, but warmer
don't
than
know,
here.
probably similar. It's California, isn't it?
It's
But yeah,
California, and then we have the situation where you then go, wow, we've entered something. Actually, this is the more you look at this, the more you realize
yeah.
it's a bit of a cheek of us, wasn't it?
But I
And
think out of all the competitions that you entered, that you listed, or at least what I've seen that
mm,
you've listed into,
there wasn't, yeah,
I
there
think
wasn't.
this was probably well, it's certainly the most relevant because of mobile phones, and obviously a popular one because of the long-standing, from when it was founded to now, 2012 till now. Uh, yes, it's been running a long time, so obviously has popularity. I don't know how much, but I think they get a lot of entries, and it's fairly prestigious because they had that guy from Lord of the Rings, or was it The Hobbit? He was one of the dwarves in the Hobbit film, the big film. So he
Wow.
was one of the people, the collaborators in the event, along with there was an indie musician, kind of film score composer, who's also very well known. Well, obviously, I don't know these people that well, in terms of I hadn't heard of them before. I mean, I'm not big
So were
on
these
actors.
people who were entering, or were these judges, or were these
So I think they
organizers?
were like kind of awarding stuff.
Right.
The indie music guy came in to actually it's funny because this is the category, isn't it? Indie music.
Yeah.
It's yeah, another kind of one of those sort of strange coincidences. I wouldn't say strange, but yeah, coincidences, maybe not. But but yeah, it just kind of clicked into place. And that guy was, he gave a talk, and I unfortunately, when I tried to find the link for it, I couldn't find the link for the live feed and all that. But hey, whatever. And we kind of gave up the ghost, didn't we? Which brings us to the next thing where
Well, we chatted, and we were about to, because right to the organizer Susy, who's lovely. I mean,
yeah, amazing,
I
amazing,
mean,
brilliant.
the whole communication, fantastic,
On
positivity,
point.
support. I mean, absolutely can't if you have a mobile film and you're looking for a festival to enter, I mean, I'm sure there are other great ones also. Of course, our experience is with San Diego, and it was just brilliant. So we were ready to write to say, hey, we didn't think we were going to win anyway, and so we would just wanted to say getting shortlisted, because I think, as we said in the last video that we made together on this subject, that the fact that someone got it, the fact that someone said, I see what you two have been trying to do, i
Yeah,
I understand this, was
I
such
felt
a,
I felt like she did. Yeah.
yeah, great feeling of connection. and
Yes, it
and
was. It was very special, and then that made it even feel. It felt personal, and for that, for something to feel personal in today's world,
mm,
friends that friends are personal, family are personal, but to get someone with that attentive, I felt special. I have to say,
yeah,
I felt like this woman cares. It's genuine, it's honest, and
yeah,
it showed. And
yeah.
actually, like you say, you remember. I actually didn't know anything about the competition, and in terms of the next stage of it, and that brings me to the we well, I may as well say it, we won the category of music video. So we've been
Really?
no, not at all. That was someone else,
Was
but
that,
I
did
didn't.
we?
So yeah, I didn't know at all, and one of my followers on TikTok actually said to me because she was aware
Oh,
of
right,
yeah,
right,
so I didn't
right.
know it was her that let me know because
And I didn't know, and you told
she
me.
I've told her told you because of her. So this is D on TikTok.
Ah,
You know
fantastic.
D, right? I think you know D.
Yes,
Yeah, she's
absolutely.
great, and
She
she's
might be watching.
I don't know.
Two people are watching. Maybe one of them's D.
Okay, but yeah, she
So
let
we've
me know.
we
She
got her
said,
to
"Oh,
thank.
you guys should be celebrating." She said because hey,
Hadn't a
I'm not going to
clue.
say more, but look, here's the link, and she sent me the link, and I was like, oh, wow, okay, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Hadn't a clue. And again, you told me, and I we were at that point of, well, we must write to Susie because this has all been such a wonderful experience. And so and this was after the event, so we had just kind of presumed, because we hadn't checked, that we hadn't won anything. And tell us then, Ben, what was the category that we won in?
So it was mobile film music video
So it's
category.
best music
Best
video
best music
category,
video. Yeah,
short film, um,
short film. Yeah.
and the clues in the music video, and I just think that I was just delighted, of course, personally, but actually more delighted for you,
Well,
and
it's very
and
kind. I get what you're saying. Yeah, and
because
I
this
appreciate it.
did it say music video, man? I'm not going to let you. I'm not going to let you escape. It says music video, so the music's got a very important role to play.
Yeah,
Um,
it's funny though, isn't it? Because it's like actually it was video. Originally it was video.
that
And
was
then it
video,
became music video. So
but
because
it did,
because of
it
the
did.
the chat, so that brings me to the thing on why so why was this unique for me in terms of as a composer or a musician or both and producer as well. It's like these days you've got to do everything, right? But so for me, I had to compose the music around the video because it wasn't, although you did say to me, modify it all you want, to make it fit or whatever you feel you would like to do. So, but I
Yeah.
thought actually this is something which I've not done before. And before I've not done it because, of reasons of, I don't know, it's a bit difficult. I don't know, it might not work. You have to cut to scenes and because it's already done, it's normally the other way around. You edit the video to the music. It's kind of a lot easier. At least that's the way I've worked before. So I thought, why not for a challenge? Just do the music around the video and don't change anything from the video. It was already 3 minutes, just a tiny bit more than 3 minutes, which is, I thought was a good length. And I didn't know that that would be like the actual length that was required for the film festival. I had no idea of that either. I don't think you did at the time, but
I don't think I did.
but
Um, I
but
think
yeah,
I
just
just Yeah.
coincidence after coincidence after
Yeah.
coincidence, and then and then yeah, I did that, and because it's quite difficult with the current software I had, or the software I had at the time, and I had an older version of the processor. So I've now upgraded my processor of my computer, and it is an absolute monster compared to what it was before. It's really fast. The latest generation Intel thing, which is really good for production in terms of music and stuff. So I got that for that, and really, that was inspired because we got the recognition, I think. And finally, someone said, here we go, great, fantastic. And you've been awarded with this. And so I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to splash out. I'm going to spend, a fair amount of money on a decent processor for my new computer, rather than keep the
Wow.
one that was what I had before was good, but not for music
And
production as
did
such.
you do that at the shortlisting, or is this since the win?
It was at the shortlisting stage.
Yeah.
So for me,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
like, actually, now that
Yeah.
we've been shortlisted, I've got, I felt like, oh, that's amazing. I don't need, that's the recognition that I've been looking for almost like self-confirmation,
Hmm.
when you feel like
Hmm.
inhibited, because a
Hmm.
lot of people feel inhibited. So from a mental, or psychological aspect, for me, it's, and for anyone, I believe, anyone who gets recognition, feels better about themselves, automatically. Although you can be kind of immune to that, but it's normally not the case, and it certainly isn't with me. If someone recognizes you've done something, then you feel better about it. You know, it's just
It,
normal. But
absolutely, and again, just to jump in, the fact that you did that and said, I've been recognized and I'm going to make this purchase and it will ultimately help you. And that came from the shortlisting. So,
yes,
this isn't sort of fake modesty from either of us when we're saying we were utterly delighted and thrilled to get shortlisted. And then to get that news was just as I've said to you already, earlier today, I'm still processing it. I'm it
I
just
think I am too, because I don't, like I said before, I wasn't aware of the full extent of it, and I'm still not, because obviously things unfold afterwards, don't they? Like, maybe
mm,
opportunities and stuff can come. And she said, yeah, she said, was it she said, or someone else said to me, I forget whether it was Susie or someone else said to me, put this on your CV, because it's a recognized, your laurels are recognized, for the award.
all
So,
right. That's
so
great.
yeah,
I didn't
it's
know
good.
that.
Yeah, so she sent
Fantastic.
she sent you the laurels as well, I presume, because
Yeah, 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 yeah.
so
I
yeah,
got a tattoo, and my T-shirt has
oh,
got them on. No, I'm kidding.
oh, blimey.
But I might do. The so basically, yeah, I did, and it's so cool. I mean, it's just,
It is cool.
yeah. I always say that. I think that what is the phrase? It's not the winning; it's the taking part, and I think we both experienced that in spades, because we were in that short list and that felt like we're in it, we're taking part,
Yeah.
and that was wonderful. But there's also no doubt it's it's great to win, but it is also a funny feeling because it was
If you're,
genuinely
yeah, if
unexpected.
if you are, humble, and it seems silly, it seems like unhumble of me to say that I'm humble, but I am fairly,
That's an oxymoron. I don't
it's
know,
just very, yeah,
tautology.
it's a double, yeah, double meaning. But what I mean is that, I'm naturally, I'm a fairly shy person, and
Mhm.
so for me to be extroverted, it takes time, in terms of, like, for me to express myself, especially on a live like this. I find these things difficult. It's okay if I'm speaking on the phone, it's not showing my face, but there's something about seeing yourself in a mirror, or something about seeing yourself on a screen, or watching yourself back on video. It's like the first time you record yourself and you listen back to it, you're just kind of horrified.
And yeah, you're
But yeah,
great. You're great on these lives. And I didn't hit the live button. This is so I tell you now, you can totally relax. Say anything you want
yeah.
at all. It's not being broadcast. You can just totally relax.
Blimey,
Um,
don't say that.
yeah, probably best not.
I know
So,
you. I know you sort of a bit better just than TikTok. So yeah, no, I'm joking. But yeah, you know what I mean. It's just yeah, we're very inhibited on lives, especially or on video, or even I remember the first time I recorded my own voice for a song, listened back to it, and I thought, wow, that is unpublishable.
I think so many of us cringe,
Cringe.
listening to our voices, looking at us. It's just
Yeah.
there's most people. I wouldn't say everyone. Far from it. There are
No.
people who are more narcissistic, shall we say, and they love that idea. But most people are aware
Yeah, I
more
think
of
people
the faults.
sometimes. I don't know whether. Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely narcissists love that kind of stuff about it's all about me, right?
Mhm.
But uh, the other thing is that some people just genuinely like chatting on a live and sharing stuff with people and listening, and that's definitely not, in my opinion,
And
nasty.
that's
But
the yeah, and
yeah,
that's the
it's
extroversion,
not like
extroversion,
a yeah an extroversion. Yeah,
extra.
so it's
It's an
kind of
extra
cool.
vision. That's the X Men extroversion
Yeah.
aspect. So if you're not narcissistic, and you're also an introvert, then probably the stuff. And I think a lot of people are like that. I think that, and it takes a bit for them to do stuff. And people presume, therefore, that maybe there is a bit of ego and maybe this is an extrovert. Some people are extroverts, some people are the so called omnivert. But I think an awful lot of people are actually really quite shy, and sometimes the ones that you wouldn't expect. So,
Yeah.
as you say, it can take a lot to do these lives. It can take a lot to put
Yep.
you work out there,
I think so.
and
It
yet,
takes practice as well because,
yes,
I mean,
yes.
now I can listen back to my voice on songs and I can think, oh, that sounds okay now. I wouldn't say it
Mm,
sounds great, but because, I'm fairly self-critical, but probably overly so. I think that's the
mm,
same with
mm,
so many people.
mm.
And self-criticism can be constructive to a point, but
To a
obviously
point.
it can limit things within creativity, especially, and that has happened to me. So, and also with confidence, it's like if you go into, I mean, I was raised with classical music, from a young age, and I was playing from a young age.
Mm.
So for me, going up on stage was a regular thing, and performing uh,
Right.
either with chamber orchestras, quartets, whatever it is, or solos. I did solos and stuff like that in orchestra, big orchestras. It's scary. You get up in front, and especially exams, all the
Mm,
grades that you have to do, and then you get up and you play in front of examiners, and they're criticizing you, critically, not nastily, just, well,
mhm,
supposedly fairly, not always the
mhm,
way, but yeah. So for me, it was something that, although I've had a lot of experience in that area, it's still something which really phases me. It's like I get
mhm,
really nervous before a
mhm,
performance, and
mhm,
the live thing, because I'm less familiar with. If you're really rehearsed, that really ensures that you get a great performance, but
mhm,
things can still go wrong.
mhm.
And the same with a live, there's always prep to a live. Again, sometimes spontaneousness, but I can't even say the word. Excuse me. But yes, spontaneity. I can't remember the
Spontan,
word.
sp- you've got extra vision too.
Spont
Spontaneity,
Spontaneity.
spontaneity.
My God, just yeah, something's gone in my head. I was hyper before, so maybe that's the reason.
Good.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so spontaneity can be the real gem in the pile, right? But
Hmm.
and that's I think what bringing going back to our win. I think that's really what probably what Susie and probably what well Susie because she's not a judge. I know she was appreciative, but the judges must have recognized that because
Yeah.
otherwise,
Wow. Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
that's a thought, isn't it? Again, still processing. Haven't
yeah,
really thought it through. It would be good to catch up and find out what went on because, of course, we weren't there. But uh, maybe another time. you know,
Maybe they'll
uh,
post something about it on YouTube or
yeah,
Facebook or something.
it would be good. And what and talking about spontaneity and performing, etc. What what was the inspiration? I mean, again, this isn't sort of fake praise, and it's also not how would I sort of false incredulity on my part. Genuinely, I don't play musical instruments. I couldn't read the music. I mean, I could, but I don't. But maybe I should learn. And yet, I, like a lot of people, get it,
Hmm.
but I have no idea how it's done. I know, is it like, I mean, I get ideas all the time.
Yeah, well, it's
Is it
basically
like
just
that?
acting upon ideas. Yes,
Is
it's
it right?
yeah,
Right. Yeah.
acting in the sense of putting it down. You know,
Right.
okay. So, for example, on my phone, and I believe that if you're a composer or a musician and you want to get something down that you an idea that you had, a really good thing. So I take voice notes, and I
Mm.
will sing. So if I have a melody, like I
Hmm.
think I've discussed it in one of our lives before, where
Hmm.
I have these dreams and I have these this
Oh,
music.
yeah.
Music comes into my head.
Yeah.
Who knows where it comes from, right? The universe, the creator, God, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I have no idea, but it comes, and it's sometimes so detailed that I have to get it down because otherwise it might just go. And this is why I don't really credit myself as such to this
Mm.
because man, we get into philosophy and speculation and the universe and creation, blah blah blah, and deeper elements, and that's not where I want to go with this. But what I'm saying is voice
Right.
notes are extremely useful as a tool for me on a mobile phone. You can set up your mobile phone. You've got some lyrics. I just thought of this. I'll just sing it in to the tune that comes to my mind. Say you're on a beach, you get inspired, and yeah,
So
that's the process for me for a lot
that's your
of
process.
composition. A lot of
Right.
composition is like that. So for when I'm doing for what we did together, the process for that was slightly different in a sense that I had much more clarity come through because of the images which you sent and the
Ah,
fact that they
right.
triggered memories for me. So
Right.
I've never been to that place that you filmed, but it
Mhm.
looks like places I've seen in Devon, for example.
You mentioned this before, right? Now
Yeah,
I'm making another connection. That
Devon and Cornwall.
this gives me more insight into the process, right? Thank you.
So yes, so basically, because it triggered memories,
Mm.
it also triggered emotions, happy ones and some sad ones at the
Mm.
same time. Although on the whole it was happy, it was more of like melancholic,
Hmm.
I would say. It's the word for it,
Hmm.
melancholy. Looking back and having fond memories, but obviously there's tinges of emotions there you may have picked up on because it was kind of like, yeah, I'm a bit of a dreamer, I would say, and so kind of my idea of yeah, I have this very sort of dreamy sense, and because I think out of my upbringing and all that kind of stuff, it's a sort of salvation method, isn't it? It's a way to protect oneself to be in a dream. So, and that translates very well to music because so many
Mm.
people identify with it. So, for my process from that, because it inspired all those emotions, and with the mist and everything, and the scenery and the fact that the mist rolls in, and it sometimes on a really interesting still day, you get that mist, and it's just otherworldly, isn't it? So because it triggered such strong feelings in me, I was able to put down ideas pretty quick. It followed a structure, which I'm fairly used to kind of composing to. Although I did modify the structure slightly, but that's just ad lib, isn't it? And I had to ad lib because I was doing the practice of composing the music around the video film without altering it. So
Yeah, and that
that's,
that can't be emphasized enough. I mean,
but
there was
I
no
mean,
give and take. I mean, you could have done, but we
I
didn't.
can't take full credit for that because something happened where I listened over and over again to the piece of music to get sorry to I watched over and over again to get the video into my mind, the timing. You know how your subconscious picks up on way more than you actually
Mm.
realize, and arguably, this is the idea of like, are you you? or are you something else? But
Mhm.
anyway, so because your senses are far beyond what even science is able to explain these days currently,
Mhm.
and they're touching on it, but because of that, and having solidified the images in my mind as much as I possibly could, I went ahead and I tried to import the video into Reaper, and which is the software I use, and to compose music. But you can actually watch the video and compose alongside for film projects, etc. You can also
Mhm.
do that in other software editing suites
Wow.
like DaVinci Resolve. That's really useful. So I tried to do that because I thought, timing's extremely important here. Trying to switch when, when the entry of the drop of the music comes in.
Mhm.
And so I had like a rough vision in my mind and kind of consciously aware of where it hit. And I noted down like seconds where in a video where it would happen. And I tried to put that into music. So for me, that was, didn't want to get too technical here, didn't I? But I think it's fairly easy to understand what I'm saying.
So
Um,
yeah, it that is a quick question in there, and then something I'll add in based on what you said, which I think is interesting to me at least. The the sounds did he just appear? I mean, I remember, for example, I think it was Paul McCartney, and it was maybe this is apocryphal, but I believe it to be a true story that he woke up one morning and he had what became yesterday. You know, yesterday all my troubles seem so far away. Now,
yeah,
you didn't know I couldn't sing, did you?
yeah,
And
that's good.
he really, all right, give me an agent.
Yeah, why not?
We're on a roll.
No, but
And he needed to somehow. I mean, they probably had real, but he did have real recorders then, of course. But he wrote down something so he could remember it, and I think it was scrambled eggs because he was like at the breakfast table, scrambled eggs. All I needed were some scrambled eggs, and
okay, I didn't know of this.
that wasn't the tune either. But never mind. So did you get did these notes appear? I mean, is that what
Okay,
happens?
so this is where I said about the process being slightly different. So for this
Right,
particular
right.
project,
Okay.
the inspiration came as I was doing it. So
Oh,
they it was like loads of people. Man, this term does my nut in a bit, but downloads. We have downloads. It's, you know, but it's all a bit spiritual, kind of a new age, and although I love the ideas of that kind of stuff, I do find it a bit kind of, oh my God,
the,
here we go again.
the word is a bit hackneyed, I think, and
But
it's a bit
honestly,
matrix.
it's a bit Matrix, isn't it? But that's what happened. I'm
Hmm.
sorry. I'm
But it
sorry
does happen.
that's what happened.
Yeah.
I had these things appear as
Hmm.
I was doing it, and then I thought because primarily I'm a viola player. It's what I was trained on from day one as a musician. Um, so I'm going to get some viola in there. So I thought
Glad you did.
rather than be it completely focused around the viola because it's not, and I didn't
No.
want it to be because for me the mist isn't it's not the viola, the mist is me, right? So in my experience, so for that and the fact that okay, I added in some stuff about the sea and stuff because it's just the memories that came. It's just the
Hmm.
stuff that I felt I needed to express, even though you didn't have sea images in there. I felt that
Mm.
it was part, and the trees, at the end it says where the trees bow, and
Mm.
then the trees came in. It was like, oh my God, that was really, did that happen? But yeah, and it was the same with where the music dropped. So
Hmm.
none of this was planned. It just happened, and then then the drums come in when the camera comes up and you see the sun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I didn't actually. I did make a rough note, but it wasn't something that I planned as such. That's not where I planned the drop to happen as such. It just happened. So,
Yeah.
so that's where the process for me in this particular project was so
Uh-huh.
different. And I do believe it's because I said to you, you said to me, do you fancy composing some music around this? And I said, oh yeah, and it sounds cool. And then I give it a go, and I thought, well, you know what? I'm not going to change the video. I'm just going to do it. It's an exercise. It's a challenge. It's something new. So something new for me turned out to be successful in this case. And in terms of, I was pleased with the result. And that sounds a bit like, full of himself and all that, but
No, not at
I
all.
was I
You're
was
right
pleased
to
with
be
the
pleased
result.
with it.
So for that for that to happen, and then for things to just glue together like they did.
Mm, mm.
I don't know, whatever you want to imagine there is probably right. But so I believe that, and I'm not like I'm not a religious person or anything like that, but I don't follow religion as such. But I do believe that there's something else that's not just what we see, because when you put infrared cameras, you see tons of stuff which your eyes simply just don't see. So the spectrum is big.
Yeah, totally. And some people are tetrachromatic. They actually see more colors than
Yes, yeah,
most
and
of the
they
general.
hear
So,
they hear color as
and
well.
the
They
the
hear
the
that's
synesthesia you've got as
yeah,
well with
it's
people. I mean,
incredible.
it is astounding. And there's much more to heaven and earth than we can possibly imagine. The truth is
Yeah,
stranger than the fiction, I always say. And there's things that are bigger than us. And
absolutely. I
it's
mean,
interesting what you said about the feeling around the mist, a bit of melancholy in there. And
mm,
oddly, you've reminded me that when I was in that morning experiencing it, there was a melancholy. There was an ethereal and an
yeah,
ephemeral
like a
feeling
yeah,
to the whole
like a
thing.
fondness as well. I felt like a fondness.
Yeah, and it was a glow, and you were bathing. But
Yeah,
the
it
other
was amazing.
thing, it
Wish I was there, to be honest. It was just
I wish that I could
incredible.
know where it was going to appear and be there again. But that was also the thing.
Yeah,
It was temporary,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so
But those are the things, life is fleeting, isn't it? Life,
life is fleeting, and so there's that sadness, there's that melancholy to it. That
yeah,
but and be fully present, and I was very present
yeah. I could
on that
tell.
walk.
I could tell you were very
Um,
attentive. Although you say it was just like you just filmed and blah blah blah. I mean, obviously, you've done it before. You have practiced. Therefore, it turned out, like me, you had the spontaneity. Yeah, not
Extravision.
extroversion. Yeah, but yes. So these things they just did click together, and that's
They
why
did.
I honestly thinking about it now and looking at me being surprised at having won. Now it seems like again it was just because I didn't see beyond that that moment where it happened was inspired, and it was inspired by way more than I even can express. So I think
Yeah.
that's the same for you. So
Yeah, and then to look back to what we were saying earlier on, that the other absolutely key player in this was Susie, who
yeah,
just as we said, all that stuff at
yeah,
some probably more than one level got,
yeah,
and I think, and that was also why there was that sense of wow, there's something really special has happened here. Hence, when there was a shortlisting, it was this just feels really incredible, and
mm,
the icing on the cake. And I'm not saying oh no, I will send my laurels back. I'm not saying that at all, but it was the reward was already there. And that's why this extra bit is
yeah,
genuinely not fake humility.
yeah. But that's
It's
it. Yeah.
difficult to process.
So for me that's the whole thing because it come for me it was I poured my heart and soul into it. What can I say? I did. Because I tried to do that with everything, but because it was so spontaneous and I had no attachments to you're going into to enter into competition,
No,
nothing. It was just like
no.
we'll do with it what happens, and it will be what it will be. So therefore, I had like no inhibitions about it. It was just I'm just going to do it. If it turns out good, we can use it. If it's a bit whatever, then we won't. That's fine. But or maybe I'll have another attempt or something. That was the first attempt, and I just repeated the video through, and I went to the I've got a keyboard here. I've got a nice MIDI keyboard, full size piano, um, and fortunately I have that, and it gives me a great range. I play the piano as well, not great, but I'm okay, and I can get around piano, and it just makes everything so easy to see when you're composing on a piano. Because I've done it from a very young age in terms of playing the piano, then you just know where the notes are, the octaves, the range you've got, and then you've got because it's MIDI, you can transfer. So used like synthesizers for the ethereal effects and stuff like that, with ambience and strings, and then on the I put a fair amount of reverb, and I know you can overdo the reverb. So I've learned this technique where anyone who's watching who is gonna use reverb, you should do reverb sidechain. Side chaining. So this is a technical thing which I feel is essential to mention. Everyone, first time they use reverb is like, wow, it sounds amazing. It's so cool. It sounds really unprofessional
Oh,
when you first use reverb and you just stuff on a reverb plugin and you don't sidechain it and you don't control its the dampening. So if you don't control the dampening and if you don't sidechain, basically reverb takes over and you lose tons of frequencies from your voice and from all the instruments that you're playing around it. And although you may have done the best recording in the world, it will never sound on a computer how you really want it to sound, because when you put all the things together in a track, frequencies cross over, and that's where you get phase issues when things are out of
right.
sync. So for anyone who's producing music or video as well, because you use for video production, you use all these effects as well, all these VST plugins. So yeah, reverb. Remember, always if you sidechain or you volume automate the length and the dampening and the decay and all that kind of stuff, your reverb is gonna change how everything sounds in your production. It's gonna sound way better. And I discovered that. Wish I could have discovered it before, but I did use it in that project. That was one of the things I had learned before from many attempts. So, music production for me hasn't come naturally. It's very tricky, and it is something which, when you've got someone producing music to a professional standard, they may not be a musician themselves, and they don't have to be, but they have to understand frequencies and sounds and how they work and how to mix them in order for certain things to pop out. Like if you've got a bass drum that's interfering with the frequency, the bass drum on the drum kit that's interfering with some kind of synth bass, which is a similar frequency. And if you don't isolate the peak of that frequency, you are going to get a really muddy sounding, horrendous kind of mix of something which just sounds like terrible.
Mm.
Especially when you listen to it back on a really high quality set of headphones or speakers, you're going to be thinking, sounds really cool, but if I just dropped 2 dB on that bass drum
Hmm.
or peaked it there, just separated frequencies of it, you're going to get a total separation of sounds. So I think that's, I didn't want to go too much into technical details, but anyone who's thinking of music production or video or anything like that that involves this stuff, frequencies are the most important thing to be aware of while you're producing on a digital interface, because you're going to get phase issues, you're going to get frequency ducking, you're going to get horrendous things happening. You're not going to know why, as I didn't. I just didn't know, but now I do. So I thought I'd share that.
Thank you very much, Ben. And I'm sure that will be exceptionally it is interesting, exceptionally interesting to a lot of people, and also probably really useful
Yeah.
for a lot of people as well to understand. So an art and a science, which then makes me think about how. I mean, because you are a musician, you are available to do whatever. So tell us what sort of things you're able to provide and where people can
Uh,
reach you.
uh, well, as a musician and a player, viola player and pianist, like I wouldn't put myself on the pianist stage, but I can play, I can play like basic stuff, and it's just I'm not practiced. If I went to practice again, I've done grade 8, on piano. I should be really good, but I just haven't practiced for years. Anyway, so the viola I'm more practiced on. It's something that comes more naturally because it's what I wanted to play. So for that work, I'm happy for quartet work. Orchestral work to some extent, although it can be very absorbing and time consuming. And it's more of a lifestyle. So orchestral work is really cool, but it comes with a price to pay because you have to be on the road. That's why I didn't continue with orchestra professionally. That's why I don't do it
Mhm.
now. But I would be happy to stand in as a viola player because they're always needing
Okay.
viola players. But
Okay.
yeah, so composition work. What I really want to get, my dream is to be someone who works in film or sound design or as a composer or something, and also has input in terms
Right.
of like their own playing as well and maybe singing. I want to develop my voice more. I'm aware that that takes practice. But I'm okay at the moment. I can get a lot better. But for me, work-wise, composition, I'm looking to film scores and stuff like that. I'm able to score, I can read music and stuff like that. So all that kind of work is
Mm.
definitely something I'm looking into, especially in the future, and obviously expanding my setup so that I can amplify that aspect of what I want to do, because that's something I want to do. Film production is probably my most kind of desired direction right now.
So anybody out there who is looking to did something to do with music and something to do with film, then they should definitely contact you.
Well, if they see that I fit the bill and they feel that we can work together, of course, it's totally and utterly up to them. Then please, yeah, do get in contact with me. You'll find my emails and stuff like that. I think it's on TikTok, but it's bslater9999 at gmail.com. Very standard email, but
And also, is that link is that on your YouTube channel as well?
yeah, it's actually the YouTube account is set up in that with that email. So
So they can find it there, and they can
yeah,
find you on
I mean,
what do you call it on TikTok?
was that the name?
Yeah,
Username kind of thing. What
yeah.
do you call it? Yeah, handle is on YouTube. YouTube handle is at Ben Slater. But
Okay, there we are.
yeah,
Gives people a couple of options. Anything else that you would like to get, let people know about before we begin to wrap things up? Not that we have to, but I am aware
yeah,
I
it's
am
been
aware that certain things are happening. You've got to attend to.
for me here. Don't worry. Right now, my daughter's cooking bread with her mum, and they're having fun because bread is homemade with spelt flour, and they're getting things messy, and they're cooking nice bread, and it's all
Oh,
homemade,
cool.
all that kind of good stuff. So she's fine. She wanted to play with me, but that we can do that later. There's still lots of still. It's actually too hot to go outside and play right now. So
Right.
yeah, it is literally too hot here to go outside and play. You just get so sweaty in a moment. But yeah, what would I like to add? I would like to hear you. What's
Sing?
your
Hear me sing? Did you say?
you could sing. But before you do, what's your um
Damn.
what's your outlook on what you want to achieve? Where do you want to go with film and music or whatever,
Well,
or in your life? I don't know how
I,
you do you want to be. Yeah, you explain. I know that you do a lot of interviews and stuff like that. Is kind of documentary style, and at least that's one aspect of what you
oh,
do.
that's kind of you.
Pretty cool.
Quite cool on documentaries, but that is
Well,
kind of you.
I think you're getting there with that.
Oh, thank you.
I think that's. I've seen your videos, and they're very good, Mike. Yeah, there's no denying it. So
thank you.
where do you want to go
Thank
with
you, my
this?
viewer.
Got
I
any
knew,
humor?
I knew I'd meet you sometime. Um, no, that is very kind of
But
you.
yeah, where do you want to go with this?
As we've alluded to in other conversations, the conversations, I sounded a bit Sean there. I think that one of the reasons that I'm keen to have been doing what we've been doing, and of course I've done some other collabs using indie musicians and applying that to video. Not for competitions, and nothing has been composed or set up in the way that we've done that. But the reason for that is probably there's a wider social dimension to it, which is that I'm acutely aware that there's a kind of Price's law at work, where the rich get richer and money creates money, and you get these people who are at the pinnacle of professions, the so-called pinnacle. This could be art, could be acting, it can be in leadership, and there are some names, and I just think it needs to be sort of democratized and spread out a little bit more. And that doesn't mean to say that I don't believe in a meritocracy, because I do, but I think it is too much that shape, and it could perhaps be more that shape. And
Yeah,
so many people are just
agree.
phenomenal at what they do,
Yes.
and there's you can listen to them. You can look at an actor. You can watch an artist at work. You can listen to a musician. You can be in an organization and be inspired by somebody's leadership, etc. And these people are as good, sometimes better than those who are household names. So it's
Well,
not it's
yeah,
not a sort of
I agree.
mission that I go every morning. I must do this. It just seems to be within the warp and weave of who I am and what the day brings to me. So I suppose going forward, well, it would be interesting for us to have a think once this is sunk in and decide what to do. I thought maybe we could reboot one of the Carry On films. That's probably only going to make any sense to.
We could film them in Almeria. You know that we got the desert. That's where all the Clint Eastwood films were filmed.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
yeah.
And Game of
Oh, now you
Thrones, desert.
carry on, cowboy. Has that been
Hey,
done? Um,
nah.
so we won't give away the idea right now. No, we don't have an idea right now, but we're in conversation. So I'm excited about that. I actually primarily as well, but I think that for me and as we discussed just as we were sort of the thing was booting up to go live or 5 minutes before. I think one of the things is that it is incumbent on each and every one of us these days to attempt to put something back that is pro-social, because the planet's in a mess in all sorts of different ways, and most of that mess is driven by people and driven by individuals. And we
Yes.
can
Yeah.
give up and we can say no, or we can
Yeah.
say, hey, let's just add some joy in there or some
Mhm.
kindness or one of my favorites, information, education. The more we know, the more we understand, the more
Yep.
we witness, the more we can copy people who are doing good, and so
And that's fine.
that's in the mix.
Well, I mean, look at all the artists out there, considered professional, blah blah blah. They just basically just copy stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
so many of those samples are just literally played backwards, and then they put them into their song. I don't think that's uncreative. I think that's great. What I'm saying is like, there's so many people out there that are doing things that could be considered infringement,
Hmm.
but yet they're getting away with it. And I don't disagree with using someone else's sounds, but we should always credit other people, of course.
Absolutely.
At least, if not pay
Yeah.
them, depending on
Yeah.
how big it is or whatever. But what
Yeah.
I'm saying is like, yeah, one of the main limiting factors in most artists out there, artistic, I mean, artist in any sense, it can be, leadership or right down to whatever, tech
Hmm.
specialists, because
Hmm.
they're artists too, programmers,
Totally. Totally.
whatever,
Yep.
whatever art form, because everything really is art,
Yes.
then we, as individuals, because we don't have the exposure, because we don't have the funds, we aren't able to get professional sounding stuff, not just because of lack of knowledge, but also because of lack of funds to be able to get the things like I got this set up in my studio. I built it up over a fair few years, but it's if you total the cost of what's in here, it's well over 10,000 euros of stuff,
Wow.
and that's a lot of money. And of course, I've built it up slowly, and every bit of money that I've had extra has gone into that. And that's dedication. Not everyone feels like they want to do that or they can do that, but they have the total possibility and abilities to be able to get that far. So because we lack funds and because we lack recognition, this is why this competition is so heartwarming for me, because it's inspired me to put some extra funds into what I've got to further expand my ability to put my creative work into a digital device like a computer. So yeah, if we got more exposure, we get more money, and therefore, yes, we have a lot of
Yeah.
flexibility, and we can get a lot more out there and feel better about ourselves. So yeah, mentally, psychologically, um, we're going to see big improvements in self when you start to recognize and you start to receive. And I know that it's not something that everyone's may see in their life in that sense, but just never give up, because we've all got a creative soul, a creative identity inside of us. And I think it's good to express it, whatever it may be.
I couldn't agree more. And actually, you just kind of also hit at a core element for me in terms of motivation. That to hear you say that is just vicariously I get absolute joy and delight listening to that. So to be part of somebody's development in that sense, that the fact that they're getting a little bit of the recognition that they deserve is so rewarding.
Yeah,
And I know you think like that about other people. And
yeah,
if more people just got that to be collegiate is actually the
yes,
way
yeah,
forward.
100%. We can't be here, like opinionating negatively about other people's, attempts at things. I mean, someone else's attempt at a similar thing might not be considered as good as another person's, but at the
Mm,
end of the day, when you really break it down, okay, the spark there is what is important, and the
yeah,
spark can never be anything but individual. So
yeah,
for that basic thing, and it takes time to develop a talent, right? A talent, like I don't believe we're well, I wasn't born playing the viola. I'm telling you that now. I
right.
wasn't. I didn't come out, and in the world, and I had a little viola in my hand, and I was there playing like, sort of Mozart's Prodigy or something. No, that's not how it happened. I had the idea that I wanted to play that for whatever reason,
Mm-hmm.
and I was very, very like, I want to play it. I want to play. I'm gonna do it. And so my mum saw that, and she put me into a conservatoire very young. And because I really liked it and I practiced lots and
Mm,
lots and
mm,
lots, I got good really quick. But that's not
right.
because I'm better than someone else. That's because I decided to practice. And that's it. Simple as that. So
Listen.
there's a famous drummer who's considered one of the best in the world who says exactly the same. And he basically, that's his philosophy. It's like, you can do anything you want, but you have to develop it, or else you're not going to get out into a point to a point. He went through hellish time trying to get his work out there. He knew he was good. He practiced a lot, but he just had to just carry on. He said at the end, in the end, I just gave up and I just put out whatever I fancied, and I just did it every day. He said he put up loads of videos of him practicing and how he got better, and then finally, it paid off. But I'm not saying it should be like that, but because it shouldn't. But basically, we all have the ability to develop talents which are present in all of us, I believe. Yeah.
Interesting. And I think that's a great message to probably begin to wrap things up
Yeah.
on. It remains for me to say, well, you can contact Ben through YouTube. He's read out
Or
his
Mike.
email address, and also TikTok, and to thank the San Diego folks
Yeah.
because the experience has been wonderful, and a shout out
Yeah.
again to
Hats off
Susie
to
that
them.
has
Yeah,
been
absolutely. Heart
it's
out.
been incredible, and also a message to anyone watching it live, and also perhaps the recording, or for the first time in the recording. Um, there might be some interesting nuggets for you in here because I think what Ben's been talking about stretches beyond simply music and film and a film festival. I think that there are some philosophical
It's very
insights.
personal. It's very personal, but then because it's so personal, it relates to everyone because everyone's
That's
personal.
a great way of putting it, Ben. It's a
Yeah,
great way of putting it.
it's
Thank you so
relatable.
much.
Thank you, Mike.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
I guess I think the way that I have to close this is
Okay.
to be on Zoom to do it. So
Yep.
I'm there. So if you were listening live, thank you very much. I hope you found it interesting and insightful. And if you're listening to the recording, I hope you found it interesting and insightful. And when the hell are we going to put this movie out, Ben? Nobody's seen it.
Yeah, we need to
The
put it
film-
on YouTube. I think maybe you
right.
do that. Maybe you do that. I
You've
mean,
got a
we've
bigger.
both got the rights to
All right. Okay.
yeah. So I mean, I think we can both put it on the channels. I'm not
We'll
sure how it works. We'll chat about
we'll
that.
chat about that. We probably should put it in cinemas only. I think is probably the best way. All right.
And
Thanks, Ben. Bye bye.
thank you,
Bye
Mike.
bye
Thank you.
bye bye
Bye
bye for now.
bye.
Bye bye. I think